Okay, in this video, we'll be just looking at some examples from the graphs of sine and cosine. It says, determine the equation of the midline, the amplitude, maximum and minimum, and period. So the first equation, y equals 3 sine 2x minus pi over 4 plus 6. So it is in the general form, y equals a sine bx minus c plus d. All right, first thing we will find is the midline. Well, the midline was always the constant term outside the parentheses. Very similar to when doing y equals mx plus b. We typically would start with the constant term. So the midline is simply y equals 6. Next, we'll find the amplitude. The amplitude is always the a. Again, very similar to y equals mx plus b. Well, the amplitude here is simply 3. Next, we'll begin to find the maximum and minimum. I'll suggest a visual first. If I had a vertical line, and if my midline we said was 6, so I'll put 6 in the middle. The amplitude is 3, so if I went up 3, that would put me at 9, my maximum. If I went down 3, it would put me my minimum at 3. So visually, you can see how we can get the maximum and minimum by applying what we know about the midline and the amplitude. So the maximum we essentially got by doing some arithmetic. Simply 6 plus 3, or the midline plus the amplitude. Obviously 9. While the minimum, the midline minus the amplitude. And that gives us the 3. So just as a visual to help assist with finding the maximum and minimum. Last thing now is to find the period. Well, period is a formula. The formula is 2 pi over b. 2 pi was the original period. The b, which is the 2 here, 2 is our b. That will impact what the new period is for this function. So, if we divide 2 pi divided by 2, we get pi. So the period is pi, which is saying it takes a distance of pi before the cycle starts to repeat itself, or before the function begins to repeat. All right, next one. Y equals negative 4 cosine x over 3 plus 7 pi over 6 minus 1. It's a whole lot going on there. We take it one step at a time. Start with the midline. Again, the midline is just a constant outside the parentheses. So therefore, my midline is y equals negative 1. And again, I'm reiterating that it's an equation. It's not just a number. It's an entire equation because it is a horizontal line. Amplitude. Well, the amplitude is our a, but it's always the absolute value because the amplitude is a distance. So the distance is 4. The negative, if you recall, that just lets us know at some point the entire picture will reflect. Maximum, again, the midline plus the amplitude, so negative 1 plus 4 puts us at 3. And the minimum, is the midline minus the amplitude, puts us at negative 5. Period, again, the period has the formula 2 pi over b, and the b happens to be 1/3. So be careful. So the period is not, b is not 3. Technically, there's a 1 there. So 1/3 would be the coefficient. So now when we do 2 divided by 1/3, that gives us 6. So therefore, the period is 6 pi. Again, which tells us this is the distance. A distance of 6 pi is what we would have to travel before the graph starts to repeat itself. And the last one, y equals 1/2 sine theta over 5 minus 8 pi. First thing you might notice is that this one doesn't have x, it has theta. These are interchangeable, so theta is still the value of our angle. So some might have theta, some might have x, but they both represent the unknown. So our midline, again, Normally, we would start with our constant term, but obviously there is no constant term outside the parentheses. But we could have put plus 0, just to overemphasize there's the constant outside the parentheses, the d. So here, the midline is y equals 0. Amplitude is the a. There's our 1/2, so the amplitude is a half. So to find our maximum minimum, we'll just start at the midline, add our amplitude. For our minimum, subtract our amplitude. Last is a period. Again, the formula, 2 pi over b. In this case, the b is 1/5, just similar to the one over here, 1/5. So we will have 2 pi over a fifth, or the calculations is 2 divided by a fifth, which is 10. So therefore, the period is 10 pi. So hopefully this helps as you begin to try some.